Good afternoon everybody and welcome back to Thirsty Thursday. If you haven't watched before, I'm Claire Manning from Thirsty Brush and we're going to do some demonstrations for you today. Before we start, I just want to say that this isn't live. I'm taking a little bit of family time at the moment, catching up with the children and the husband. So do still leave me a comment. I won't be able to reply to it live, of course, but do still like to see your comments and see that you've enjoyed the show and what you liked and all that kind of thing. So do leave the comments below or pop a note on Facebook or anything. And if you have any questions, of course, you're more than welcome to contact me via any of the social medias, but just bear in mind I might not be replying to them immediately. So what we're going to do is, if you watched our birthday and anniversary shows, it was amazing to do the build-up. At this point that I'm recording this, I haven't done the live shows yet, but I'm sure I'm going to be thanking you for making it extra special. But what should be happening is that the day that this goes out to you and that you're watching, you should be starting to receive some of your deliveries. So we're going to have a look at a couple of different things. If any of you bought the limited edition birthday anniversary sets, so there were these two stamp sets. So we're going to use the floral image from this one and a sentiment from this one. And we're also going to do a background with the wildflowers. So hopefully that gives you some ideas with whatever you've bought as well, because a lot of these techniques you can use with either things you've got in the stash or maybe other things that you bought out of that collection. I have recorded some extra YouTubes for you as well, so hop over to my channel, Claire Manning Craft 2, and subscribe there, because all of the different products that we did on that huge anniversary release, and to make sure there's at least a video per product for you, per design, so you're not left having these things in the post and then not knowing what to do with them. Instagram and Facebook, either our page or our group as well, is a really great source of inspiration for your cards. You'll see loads from the design team girls, but you'll also see from other crafters and what they're doing with their products, and I think that's why it builds a really strong community for us and we all learn from each other. So let's start off by creating a background with the wildflowers, and I'm just going to grab a plain white piece of card and my Eureka. And it's a real kind of sketchy, solid stamp, this. You'll have probably seen samples from Kerry on the design team who did really bright backgrounds with it. I've done some with heat embossing. It looks amazing in the gold and the other colours. What I'm going to do today is more a monochrome look of blacks and greys, and how you can move it around to create even more depth. So it's quite a big stamp. So I'm going to pop it in my Eureka, and the first layer of stamping I'm going to do is just with a plain black. I may have to do it a couple of times. I want it really quite crisp, and there's a lot of stamping here to do because it's a solid kind of base stamp rather than a line image. This one isn't my hand drawn, the perfume ones are, but this is a graphically designed image, but I really liked how the artist has done that kind of sketchy look. So yeah, I thought I might need to go over just a couple of times, although that's perfectly okay as it is if you want that kind of rustic kind of look. I want it a little bit, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it a little bit more bold than that, and you'll see why in a moment. So plenty of the black ink. I'm using a VersaFine, but it really doesn't matter, to be honest, for this one. Any black ink that is your favourite to work with, and give it a good press. Okay, I think I've moved slightly, got a little bit of movement there, but that's fine. So that's our initial image. Let's just wipe that down because we're going to change colours but still keeping in the monochrome theme, we're going to change to grey. And I want this grey layer, even though we're stamping it on top, it's going to look like it's behind because the black obviously sits more bold. I'm just going to peel it off and use the top of my Eureka as it sticks to the top as well. And I'm going to use it on like this. So it's another way of stamping where you don't get a perfect crisp image. It's kind of falling away and next generation-ish. This works really well. Just want to dry that off a bit because I'm going to get black fingerprints all over it otherwise. Okay, so now I'm going on to the smoky grey. So like before, so this time I'm going to put the piece of card face down into the ink and press rather than using the window. But also I want to turn it upside down, so that leaf, this is the easiest way I know, that leaf is at the top this time. So this is going to do like almost like a duplicate of the image, sitting and grey sitting behind that black. And because we're doing this by hand almost, you can do this on a glass mat as well. It's going to be a little bit more sketchy. So can you see that gives a really nice effect. Now we're going to go in and get a third piece of depth or layer. So there's still a little bit of grey ink on there, so we're going to do like a second generation one. Now if I just turn that round again 180 degrees, it's just going to go over the black piece. So what I want it to do is just really light in the background. So I'm going to kind of go in some of the corners and just really lightly, barely pressing at all. Can you see it just adds that little bit more? Just make sure I do this on 4 of the corners. You'll still have a bit of ink, so if you've still got a blank patch, you can always go in. So don't worry about the edge, we're going to chop that off, but I think that gives a real bit of depth. I think I need a bit more over there. Let's try that. See if that does the job. Yes, a little bit more. So can you see there's almost 3 layers, black, grey and then even lighter grey. Just think it gives real dimension without actually adding any bulk to your card. Let's clean that down. So what I do need to do though is chop that down to fit my card blank. So I'll let that dry off a bit first while we're doing the next stage, and then I'll come back to that chopping down once I'm ready to pop it on my card. That's background done. Does get a bit messy with the inks though, so I've got a little wipe. Okay, on top of that background, I'm going to use the flower from this set, this lovely kind of open tulip. So I've got, let's do it actually on the grey. Because of that, tying in with that monochrome, I quite fancy stamping on grey onto grey paper for a change, and then maybe embossing it in gold. We're going to die cut, so it doesn't necessarily matter where I put the flower. So anti-static bag as always. If you tuned into our live shows and you saw all our new embossing powders and restocked of the original colours, and maybe you've bought embossing powders from us, or maybe even your first Thirsty Brush items. So this is the kind of basic way to emboss. You anti-static your paper so you don't get your powder anywhere that you want, only on your stamped image, and then you use a clear sticky pad So it's still like an ink, but it's clear and almost like a glue pad, if you like. It takes a while to dry, and that gives you time to tick the powder on. It'll stick to all that lovely image where the clear ink has gone, and then you heat set the powder to make it either the metallic or the smooth or the glitter, depending on which ones you bought. So I always go in twice when I'm stamping with embossing ink because it's clear, just to make sure I have pressed everywhere and got everything. Bit easier to see on a grey, but can be quite difficult on a white piece, for example, to see where you've stamped, but it's worth the effect. So just clean my stamp off. Just cleans off like your normal inks do. So microfiber cloth, or I'm using a wipe here just for quickness. Just pop that to the side for a sec. And then we want something to catch the excess powder. And I'm using the Gold Digger. But you can use any of the powders that we do, the basic black and whites, the clears. I'm not even going to do any colouring on this one. But if you do want to see this image watercoloured with some watercolour pens, there's a video on my YouTube of that as well. It takes a little while, that, so I do it kind of, I record it and then speed it up a little bit for you. So that's the powder on, and then you go in, warm up your gun, you heat tool a little bit first, but you'll see it does change really quick. And that powder that goes then from that matte gold to that really shiny, true gold colour. Doesn't that look pretty on the grey without any colouring? Just looks so pretty and shiny. So before I die cut that, I'm just going to stamp my sentiment. I could do that as well in an embossing powder, different colour or the same, but I'm going to just do it in black, I think. And I'm going to use the hugs from this one. So this is the huge hug set. And you get the dies as well for the big sentiment. Just getting myself stuck there. So I thought it'd be a good idea to use that hugs die. I really like these bold fonts. They're really good for all ages, men and women. Some of the fonts that we use a lot are very pretty, but sometimes they're not always suitable for every recipient of every card. So this is just black. But the black on the grey paper is going to tie in with the black and the grey background. Really nice, bold, solid stamps, these. So you do want to spend a bit of time just doing 2 or 3 stamps just to make sure it's really perfect. Let's get rid of that. And then let's go in and die cut those. So we can, now that's both on the same piece, we can run that through the machine together. So we've got the hugs, got these lovely little banner dies as well for your other sentiments if you want. Handy for any sentiments that you've got that will fit within those spaces. And then you've got an outline and a matten layer for this big flower. I'll just do the outline for now. I'm just going to hold those in place with a bit of low tack tape. Really easy to line these up with that big bold font look. But it's going to give you that little 1mm border. And I really like that it chops out the middle there of the flower where the leaf overtakes, because then you're going to get poked through a little bit of that background as well that we've done. So I'm really pleased with how these came out. So I hope you've got hold of those, because I know those anniversary ones were limited edition. So I hope that if you wanted them, you managed to get hold of them. There we go. Just pop those back with my dies. Put them away when I'm finished. Okay, so before we glue all that onto the card, I need to just chop down that background, don't I, to fit my card blank. So it's actually bigger, I think, than my card blank. So let's measure it and make sure. So my card blank is bang on 5. So first of all, I want to take off the sides. I don't want to chop it all off one side and then end up with this messy bit. So let's make sure we get rid of those messy bits, those edges first. We should be able to. Now, so we're going to want it slightly smaller, I think. Just deciding which side I want to take it off. Don't suppose it really matters, does it? Let's go that one because it's a bit more empty. So that's slightly smaller now. Let's do similar. Take off the excess first. Don't think I've got the extension for this, but that should be just smaller than 7. But I'll tell you what, we could do it like this. If I measure, so I want it there and a little bit less. See if my quick maths, maybe slightly more off the width just to even that out, shall we? I'm used to using my Caterpillar in my studio, you see, so when you use somebody else's equipment it's always a bit weird, isn't it? Okay, so let's pop that on the card. So just a white 5x7 or black would work as well, obviously, or a grey one if you've got any different coloured card blanks. There we go. And I think just some wet glue for these, keep it nice and flat this time. We do lots of colourful cards and rainbow colours and pinks and greens for all our flowers. It's quite nice to do something a bit more monochrome-y, I think. But just with that little hint of gold. Gives it that little bit of drama that it needs. Just going to overlap that. There we go. I think I'm happy with that, as using up all the bits from both stamp and die sets, the huge hugs and the Do What You Love, and the background, the wild flowers. So if you've got these, you're having them delivered at the moment. There we go, that little gold sparkle. Woo. If you're having these delivered over the next few days, then do try this out. and post a picture. I'd love to see what you do, or if you've got any other techniques that you either want to see in future videos or that you've discovered yourself using these designs. It's really nice for me to see what you guys do as well, and how I always have an image in my mind of how myself and the design team are going to use these designs for you and demonstrate them and what type of cards they're going to create. But then what really amazes me is when you guys get them in your hands and you have even more ideas and you go, look what I've discovered you can do with this or that, and the way you combine things. So that's really inspiring to me too, and I learn just as much from you guys as you do from me. So like I say, I'm just having some family time at the moment, but there'll be tons of content here for you to get inspired while you're getting your new designs delivered. And check out my Facebook, my YouTube, and there's tons more on there, and still there'll be another Thirsty Thursday next week. So I will catch you then. Take care, and I'll see you soon.